Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Brett Bozeman, Director of Operations for BCSC. I'm going to spend some time talking about the Parkside renovation this evening, and we have a handful of folks that we will introduce to you. Before we do so, anytime we have any projects in BCSC, we always try to do so by working through our facility guiding values and principles document. So this document was created by a number of stakeholders about a year or so ago, and working quickly through this, we want to make sure that as we incorporate projects into our school buildings in BCSC, that we are inclusive, that they're safe, they're welcoming, they are community-based, and within that community basis, maintaining and honoring the architectural significance and history of our facilities, that they're efficient, they're innovative, which is something we'll talk about specifically tonight. They're accessible to all persons, and they're flexible in design and in learning spaces. So we have a handful of folks to share information with us tonight. You'll see them listed on the screen here. CSO Architects is our lead architectural firm. Jim Funk, Maxwell Construction. Chris and Nate, they are our CMC, our construction manager as constructor, and they'll self-perform some of the work. Parkside Elementary Administrators, Chris Smith and Dana Bodart, and then from BCSC, Dr. Jim Roberts, Greg Ferguson, project manager, and myself. So at this time, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Dr. Roberts for some introductory remarks.
Good evening, and thank you for coming to tonight's Parkside Elementary School Open House. We are very excited about the opportunity to share the wonderful things that are happening to this building during this very important renovation project. This renovation is important to us for two distinct reasons. One, we have gathered input from many stakeholders, key among them the faculty of staff of Parkside Elementary School, to determine how to convert this building into one that is ready to address the learning needs of our students today and tomorrow. And two, the lessons learned from this renovation project will impact our renovation decisions at Schmidt Elementary School, our next building we hope to renovate, and other significant building renovations over the next decade. A project like this can only be successful through the engagement of committed people. So I thank all of those individuals who will be speaking here this evening, the faculty and staff of Parkside that I referenced earlier, as well as our school board members who represent this community and had to make some important decisions to approve this project moving forward. It is impossible to have a project like this move forward without that commitment. It's also impossible to complete such a renovation without patience, cooperation, and understanding. As you can see, there are a lot of moving parts to the work that we will have here now, and it will continue to be this way until I think around 2024. So I thank everybody for their commitment to this project. At this time, I will turn things back over to Mr. Chris Smith, principal here at Parkside Elementary School. Chris.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. First of all, let me welcome everyone here tonight to our school. And when I say our school, I don't mean my school, I don't mean the staff school, I don't mean the student school, I mean everybody's school. This is our school. And I would like to just quickly address, from our point of view as an administrator and as the staff of the school and the students, things that will be happening here at the school, things that will be added in that will make learning for students and staff here better in the future. First of all, I would like to just mention we will have a new STEM lab that will be constructed within the school. It will be built state-of-the-art. It will have things like a clean lab. It will have up-to-date technology, as well as many other items in there like water and space and collaborating space, whiteboard tables, hopefully, that students can do their planning and building and constructing and working collaborative. We will also add an additional emotional wellness center, which will be dedicated to the whole child and benefit them in many ways. We are also excited about many of the flexible learning spaces that will be provided for large group areas, small group areas, flexible furnishings, updated technology, and then some exterior site improvements as well. As I work my way through this, you'll see that I'm repeating myself, but trying to dive a little deeper into it. We have a vision, and as you can see, I'll read this to you. It says, create a modern facility which fosters community learning, collaborative workspaces, and improves connections among students, families, staff, and other stakeholders. So that's what I was mentioning when I said this is our school. We hope to have an enhanced learning environment for boys and girls and staff. Like I mentioned, the student wellness areas, and then community areas as well. They'll be scattered throughout the building. We are calling those neighborhood areas for the boys and girls. We did, as Dr. Roberts mentioned, have a lot of input from the staff. We visited other school systems. We visited a renovated building as well as a newly built building in Hamilton Southeastern and saw some of the things they were doing to enhance their learning environments. And as I mentioned already, they had collaborative and creative learning spaces, small group learning spaces. They had grade level neighborhoods with open sight lines from all the classrooms so that when students are in those neighborhood areas and collaborating out in those spaces, teachers and staff can see them as they work out there. They can also share resources because of the windows. Instead of putting paper on the wall, we have glass walls where you can see learning going on within the classroom. Lots of flexible seating and workstations. Warm, inviting, calming colors. We probably will not be loaded down with a lot of primary colors around the school, but warm, inviting, calming colors so that when students enter the building, they come in and they can be calm and ready to learn. As I mentioned before, modern, upgraded technology and a dedicated, well-appointed STEM lab. And then as you look here, again, I'll go back to what I've already mentioned. Just a uniform look of calming colors, walls, furniture, flooring, etc. We hope to decorate our areas with action shots of students, so live pictures of students learning and working and playing together. Easily accessible and moving furniture. Like I said, living bulletin boards, those will be all the glass windows within the school. An upgraded media center with mobile shelving, flexible seating, a maker space in the upstairs, and a green room for students to make production. And then finally, students' basic need spaces, which I mentioned before, the Emotional Wellness Center and a Physical Wellness Center. And now I'm going to turn this over to CSO, Jim Funk.
Thank you. I'm Jim Funk with CSO Architects. Just talk a little bit about what's going to happen to the building. Mr. Smith talked a little bit or a lot about a lot of the educational changes, but we also have a 62-year-old building that needs some TLC to keep it operating and keep classrooms warm and comfortable, and light levels and outlets to plug into, and a lot of needs like that people don't think about. So there's a list of things you see on the left there of things we're going to accomplish in the building. And the biggest one is replacing the HVAC system, which will be a pretty dramatic switch over here, because right now the units are in the classroom, they're very loud and make it challenging for teachers to teach over. New systems will deliver air in a lot more comfortable manner and much more quieter. So that will be probably the number one thing teachers will love, be honest with you. A lot of more outlets, LED lighting, the exterior classroom windows are in need of replacement, so those will all be replaced as part of this, so it will add to the comfort of classrooms. And then casework replacements and equipment throughout the building. A lot of it's very old and in poor condition. And then just replacing the interior finishes and bringing it up to date, being more true to the original concept of the school and the design. And then outside, we have some work as well in creating some bus lot in the rear to create some separation for safety, and then a lot of pavement improvements with sidewalk replacements and asphalt paving lots that are being redone. And again, on the learning side of the building, a lot of changes to increase instruction opportunities and to improve that. You see a list there, I won't go into it, as a lot of it's been talked about before. We'll dive into those details. So some people ask, why do we need to change what we do in this building? And it was built in 1962 and it served everybody pretty well. So if we think about kind of how teaching happened back then, I was 1967, I was in first grade, in a classroom just like that. So I remember it very well. Desks were all in a row. They stayed that way the whole year. We never moved them. There was no small group work. They were very uncomfortable. So not the easiest to sit in all day long. It's a teacher-centered environment. The teacher pretty much dictated everything we did. So there was not a lot of choices as a student. Even at lunch, there was one option. You didn't get to choose. We were pretty much lectured to. There were some visuals with books, but that was about it. And we really just did individual work. There was no group work at all. So everything was just you yourself. You at recess, you got to play with the other kids, but that was about it. So, a little different world than we have today. A lot of focus on memorization and not necessarily how to learn like it is today. And, paper and pencil world at that point. And then, if you needed remediation, you were pulled out of the classroom and taken down the hallway somewhere else and then brought back at a later time. So, and really back in the 60s, we were preparing students for a manufacturing economy, which we're not today. So next, I'll let Stephanie alone. She is also with CSO, but comes from the educational side and can talk to why some of these changes are needed to match instruction.
Thank you, Jim. I've had the opportunity to serve as an educator and as an administrator and as a director in a large growing school district. And one of the things that I always think about is, gosh, where does form and function, really fit together? And when you have an opportunity such as this to really take these funds and make really purposeful decisions about how children learn, about how teachers interact with children, we really want to put some good work and study and discussion behind this. So on this slide here, I'll just note some pieces here to reinforce that the furniture will be flexible. We'll be able to study some designs that meet the comfort needs for students, but also the flexibility that teachers need. Certainly there's opportunity for direct instruction where teachers pull their children together, maybe in a family setting where the teacher is very traditionally at the front of the room doing a demonstration lesson, and then the teacher might be dismissing students to small groups. They might be working with a student one-on-one, and they might have children, working together, another student leading part of that session. So that's what you'll see here when we talk about flexible furniture and the needs for movement in the classroom. An inquiry-based setting is something that is studied and is really important in the literature for how we're interacting in a 21st century environment. And so that idea that students have questions of the teacher, they have questions of themselves, they're doing a little bit more hands-on engagement, and certainly revisiting some of their ideas and refining their thinking, a little bit different from what Jim mentioned in 1967, sitting at a desk kind of independently studying. I was reflecting on my daughter's working in chemistry this year, and they're doing many more sort of labs and back and forth, and even having a science notebook that they revisit. And of course, it's all electronic. And certainly, in the 80s, I was memorizing the periodic table. So there are so many differences that we see. While all of those pieces in academics are still very important and those basic skills are all a part of the balance, our students today are really demonstrating more of their knowledge in these more 21st century kinds of applications. UDL is a term that's used in your district prevalently, and that idea of universal design for learning, that we've designed the space so that all students can engage. Whether you're somebody that needs a little more remediation, I need a little more acceleration, or perhaps I need to just approach this a little differently for you. Also kind of reflects the openness in the class, where teachers can kind of watch each other. Gosh, how did you really teach elapsed time? I'm teaching elapsed time this way. I can tell that your students are having more success with that. So teachers are really borrowing instruction from each other, and students are seeing each other engage in different ways. So you can also see here that we've got some ideas with technology too, certainly supporting the idea that we'll be a little bit more mobile with our technology and mobile with our paper and pencil work. And the idea that our students are really heading out into the 21st century workforce where tech is integrated and so much more meaningful. and engaging ways, but also the idea of communication skills and collaboration skills and a balance with that technology. I think we all can relate to that with our students with their heads down and their technology, but really being able to use that in a collaborative kind of way that supports that really well-rounded 21st century workforce. This is a figure here that kind of illustrates what the classrooms and then the learning communities will look like, where you'll have teachers that are side by side. You'll have the neighborhood here, as Chris suggested, and you'll have these small group instruction rooms that are just off the classroom. Again, kind of a smaller space for students who might need a remediation lesson, an enrichment lesson. Perhaps in the activity commons or in the neighborhood areas, there might be a book club that meets. There might be, 4 teachers who say, gosh, we have kids that are interested in this topic. Let's put them together to study. Let's put them together to, pursue this novel. And so the teacher isn't so isolated in their one room, where you crack open the door every once in a while to kind of see what's going on. You've got administrators and other teachers that are roaming around to kind of see instruction happening and really having those expectations that we're learning from each other. We've got the restroom also within the neighborhoods, really minimizing the breaks that are required of teachers and of classrooms. So, just kind of a humane approach. If I've got to go to the restroom, I've got to go now, and here's my opportunity to use it. It's out of my community space here. And then, again, as Chris mentioned, just the learning on display. Sort of gone are the days of the bulletin boards that really have this fixed sort of learning, but we're really seeing active learning, we're really seeing students engaged, and we're, again, really able to capture that in a way that's a little bit more transparent rather than just so fixed. Okay. All right, I'm gonna turn it back over to Jim.
So this is an overall floor plan of Parkside as it will stand when completed. And you can begin to see there development of 7 different activity centers or neighborhoods that classrooms will be grouped around from kindergarten through 6th grade here in the building. There's also a lot of other little things that are happening. One of the biggest ones you'll notice for individual walking through is the coats will be gone out of the hallway. So coats will be moved into other rooms. That will not be the first thing you see as you walk through. There'll be a much cleaner, nicer look. Classrooms themselves are getting new finishes as well as pretty much throughout the building. A little bit of expansion on the office we'll touch base on in a minute. But generally improvements all throughout the building, including things like this room, the cafeteria, the stage being removed, so we can expand seating in this space as well, and then renovations to the adjacent media center to bring it up to 21st century learning. One of the, I think, kind of neat features we're able to bring here is bringing in a wellness suite, which is kind of concept we're seeing a lot of other districts that's been successful, and it creates and you'll see it kind of north of the office area there, above it, where it currently is, where we took the music room and converting it to this space. But you'll see there are 5 or 4 offices in there and a conference room, and it's a place where students can come in and see a counselor or see a social worker or any other type of mental health professional to help them through their struggles. There's a conference room to meet with families, and it's grouping these all together that a child may be seeing one of these professionals, and they can then kind of work together on what's the best plan for that child moving forward. So instead of them, traditionally you see them scattered all around the building instead of all in one place. So this just brings it all into one. So hopefully there's a lot more collaboration and more help for each individual child that needs the services. And then you'll see the physical assistance with the main office as it currently is, but there is some expansion of it with the clinic being enlarged, an addition of additional office for an SRO officer. So just kind of tweaking a few things on that to accommodate the additional staff that have arrived at this building since it was built in 1962.
2 of the very important spaces to Parkside are the STEM lab and the sensory room, which are both centrally located so that they're very accessible for the school. The sensory room is just another space to support student wellness. It has a cool down space, a timeout room, dimmed lights, and a swing that will help students decompress. and if they're overstimulated. The sensory or the STEM lab, which we'll see on the next slide, a rendering of, as we mentioned before, will have a clean room off of it to support STEM lab equipment. It'll have upgraded furniture and water and hard floors for messy activities, and upgraded technology as well. In the classrooms and throughout the building, we're keeping the spirit of the school. Many of the important architectural features, such as the exposed beams and columns, wood deck and clerestories. The classrooms will also receive upgraded carpet, upgraded technology, an HVAC system, and additional storage. The activity commons, most of them also have many of these features available. They also will have additional glazing. The small group room, highlighted in green here, overlooks that activities commons as well as the classrooms for greater security, but also collaboration between grade levels. And this is an example of the activity commons on the far side of the building, where we're bringing in beams but wrapping them in wood to kind of repeat that feature throughout the building, but bringing in ceiling clouds to help with acoustics. In the left corner, you can see the existing, what this space looks like now, and how we're taking out the cubbies to open up this area and really show that learning on display concept that we've talked about. Several of the site improvements include a new drive around the front of the building, an expanded parking lot to the west, and then a gated bus lot that doubles as a hard surface play lot, and then replacement of many of the sidewalks and repairs as required. And then I'll pass this off to Maxwell.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Grabowski. I'm the Senior Project Manager for Maxwell Construction. We are the construction manager as constructor on the project. Our two main responsibilities are not only to manage the day-to-day construction and all the contractors and workers on site, but to in summary, to manage the budget and the schedule of the project, and to work closely with not only CSO Architecture, but BCSC, Greg Ferguson, Dr. Bozeman, Jim Funk, Lauren, and all the other members of the design team. Like I said, one of the main aspects of construction that we manage is the schedule. And as you see here, we work very closely with not only the Parkside Elementary administration, but CSO Architecture and R.E. Diamond, our engineer, to produce this phasing plan. The phasing plan helps reduce the amount that we have to move classrooms and teachers around, and it also takes into account construction efficiencies so that we can complete the work in an efficient manner. And that includes not only the aesthetic features that are being remodeled throughout the school, but as well as the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing components, which are a very important part of the construction process. Another item, a component I would like to address is the security and safety throughout construction. Given the current nature of the world, that is a major concern, and some things that we do to help maintain the secure environment of the school is before anybody, whether it's an inspector or a staff member digging a hole on site, they have to check in at our job trailer, and they receive an identification number. They sign a site check-in agreement agreeing to all of our safety protocols and procedures, and they also receive a unique identification badge, which will allow them to badge into the building so that we can track all employees that enter the building and exit the building. I think that's all I have to say about the construction management side of things. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. I'll wrap things up for us. As you can see on the phasing plan, this is a 9-phase of 8 weeks in each phase. We anticipate having this project complete in the summer of '24. As the phases complete, students will move back into those completed phases. So we'll be able to highlight some of those areas as they are opened up for students and staff here very soon. So we're excited about this. Thank you for your time and your attention. This This all said and done, this will be in the neighborhood of about a $16 million renovation to this building while maintaining the architectural significance that's so important here. This is a tax neutral project. This is not affecting increasing of taxes in the community. We're proud of that. We're excited about that. We appreciate the partners that we have with that and the support in order to make that happen. And as Dr. Roberts mentioned earlier, hopefully this is something that we can learn from, grow from here, and highlight for future innovations for other elementary schools in the district. So certainly feel free to reach out with questions that you may have to Chris Smith, Dana Bodart at Parkside Elementary, or Greg Ferguson, BCSC Project Manager. Thanks for being here and appreciate your time and attention.